Welcome to Rich Drive. Okay, we're jumping right into a massive question today. Why is transportation considered a primary wealth killer? I've spent years, literally decades, building wealth and helping others do the exact same thing. And I'm going to be real with you right out of the gate. The everyday transportation habits that you, me, and our neighbors have, they are silently destroying your ability to become truly wealthy.
So let's really dive into this. Picture this. You're driving down the street, right? Someone pulls up next to you at a red light in a pristine, brand new $100,000 car. What's your first thought? Be honest. Most of us immediately think, wow, they must be rich. But mathematically, that is completely backward. The only undeniable hard data point you actually have about that driver is that they either have 100 grand less to their name than they did yesterday, or they are currently buried under $100,000 of debt.
Which brings us perfectly to our first section, the illusion of wealth.
Okay, hold on a second. Wait a minute. I hear what you're saying about the math, but we live in the real world, right? Doesn't a luxury car show that you're actually successful? Because in a lot of industries, driving a high-end vehicle is practically a requirement. It's a total status symbol. It shows clients you're trustworthy, you've got a certain career image. Isn't that just a necessary part of playing the game?
Well, that's a really great question, Rachel, and honestly, it's the exact trap society desperately wants you to fall into. But listen, if you want to build actual generational wealth, you have to know the difference between an asset and a liability. When you put money into an asset, like blue-chip stocks or income-producing real estate, it has intrinsic value. It grows over time and actually puts cash in your pocket. But a liability, like a luxury car, it does the exact opposite. A car loses about 20% of its value literally the second you drive it off the lot. Poof, gone. You're putting your hard-earned wealth on the chopping block of depreciation. So you aren't buying wealth. You're buying a depreciating liability that's going to continually eat up your money, your time, and your energy through insurance, maintenance, and those crazy interest payments.
Okay, let's move on to section 2. The man in the car. To really grasp why we do this to ourselves, we got to look past the math and look at the psychology of the purchase. And this brings us to a really brilliant concept from Morgan Housel's Psychology of Money. Before I built my own wealth, way back when, I actually worked as a valet out in Los Angeles in the mid-2000s. And out there, man, material appearance was like oxygen. Guests would roll up in Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces, the whole shebang. As a young guy, I'd look at those cars and think, man, if I had that, people would think I was so smart and rich and important. But here's the crazy part, the absolute craziest part. I never actually looked at the driver.
And this highlights such a brilliant, universal truth. No one is impressed with your possessions as much as you are. It's a massive paradox. People want wealth to signal to others that they should be admired. But the onlookers, they don't admire the driver. They just use that fancy car as a benchmark for their own desire to be admired. The driver thinks everyone is staring at them in awe, but everyone on the sidewalk is actually just imagining themselves in the driver's seat. It's wild. You're trading away your financial freedom to impress people who aren't even thinking about you.
So, section 3. Income is not net worth.
Okay, but even if people are just looking at the car, you still have to admit that the person driving that Ferrari must have a massive income. Like, you can't just be totally broke and drive a luxury car. You're right, Rachel. Absolutely. They do have current income. But here's the catch. Income is not wealth. I want to introduce you to the Henry. High earner, not rich yet. Having a high salary doesn't guarantee you're wealthy. It just means money is flowing through your hands really fast. If you are stuck on a hedonic treadmill, where your spending rises right alongside your income because you just have to keep upgrading your car and your lifestyle, you aren't wealthy. You are just spending a lot of money.
Let's make this real for a second. Let's look at the rich, broke corporate lawyer. This guy makes 200 grand a year, leases a luxury SUV for 900 bucks a month, and rents a fancy penthouse. But after taxes and massive lifestyle inflation, he saves $0, nothing. If he loses his job, he is completely bankrupt in 30 days. Now, contrast him with the wealthy, invisible high school teacher. She makes $75,000 a year, but she drives a paid-off Honda, cooks at home, and consistently invests. She's sitting on a $400,000 portfolio. She works because she wants to, not because she's absolutely terrified of missing her massive car payment. The lawyer has a high income, but the teacher, she has high net worth.
Which brings us to section 4, the opportunity cost trap.
Wow. Okay, seeing those two laid out side by side really puts things into perspective. But what does this actually cost someone over their entire lifetime? Can you show me the real, long-term damage of keeping up this consumerist mindset? The math on this is honestly staggering. Let's just take $1,000 a month in surplus cash. The person with a consumer mindset puts that toward a luxury car payment, trading it in for a new model every few years to get, the latest tech and the new leather smell. After 30 years, they have literally $0 in assets from that money, and they are totally dependent on a paycheck for life. But the person with the investor mindset, they take that exact same $1,000 a month and dump it into an S&P 500 index fund, earning roughly an average 9% return. Over 30 years, through the absolute magic of compound interest, that exact same monthly amount turns into approximately $1.78 million. No joke.
You see, the price tag is just the beginning. The real cost is stolen future returns. Consumers just look at the receipt, right? They think, oh, a car payment is just $1,000. But an investor calculates opportunity cost. They know for a fact that a $10 daily coffee habit or a massive luxury car loan is literally equivalent to burning hundreds of thousands of dollars of your own future freedom. Every single time you buy a depreciating asset, you are trading away your future independence for just a fleeting, temporary hit of happiness.
All right, our final section, Section 5, the invisible wealth builder. Okay, my mind is kind of blown. I fully grasp it now. Trying to look rich by buying all these flashy things is the exact mechanism that actively prevents you from actually becoming wealthy. You're just handing your future millions over to a car dealership to impress some stranger at a red light. Exactly, Rachel. You hit the nail right on the head. Now, before I share the final, ultimate secret to maintaining the wealth you build, I want to ask everyone watching to please subscribe to Rich Tribe channel, like, comment, and share. We are totally dedicated to bringing you these wealth-building explainers, and your support really helps us reach more people who need to break free from this crazy consumer trap.
Okay, so let's look at how this builds to a really profound realization. Back in 1989, a Ford Taurus sedan averaged 18 miles per gallon. 30 years later, a 2019 Chevy Suburban, which is a ridiculously massive SUV, averages 18.1 miles per gallon. As Morgan Housel points out in his book, America didn't grow its energy wealth just by randomly finding more oil, it grew it by becoming radically more efficient. And you know what? The exact same thing is true for your personal wealth. You build wealth not just by desperately hustling to increase what you make, but by intentionally decreasing what you need.
And that brings us to the ultimate definition of wealth. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the nice car that you decided not to purchase. It's the diamonds not bought. The first-class upgrade gracefully declined. Wealth is financial assets that haven't yet been converted into the stuff that you physically see. Anyone can spot a rich person, right? Because they make sure you see their luxury cars. But wealthy people? They're mostly hidden. Wealth is simply the accumulated leftovers after you spend what you take in.
So I want to leave you, Rachel, and everybody watching with this final, really provocative question. What is the return on cash that gives you control over your own time? You see, the ultimate dividend of wealth isn't a shiny new Ferrari. It's freedom. It's the ability to wake up every morning and do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. When you stop bleeding your money into depreciating transportation, you actually buy back your life. You get flexibility, you get peace of mind, and you finally step off that endless rat race. So start acting like an investor today and just watch how quickly your world changes. Thanks for hanging out with us on this explainer.